So did you literally just call me to tell me that you found 2 soothers? And you know I'm recording?
Sure you weren't trying to go above and beyond to make me happy and like last and got soothers and like came over because we don't need them.
All right, so you found the soothers you need for our kids.
Thank God.
Great. P.S. You're back on speaker.
So bad.
You called in the middle of recording to tell me you found soothers.
Mike, figure out how to edit this in. I would appreciate it.
No. Hey, you know what? You can edit things, so just suck it up.
Hey, what's
Alright,
wait.
what?
Kathleen, what's your opinion on D&D 5th edition?
I think I just saw a tumbleweed.
Is it enjoyable? Is it the best edition of D&D ever? Or is it like piece of?
No,
Is it
I like
just
the
junk?
last edition better.
You preferred 4th edition.
Yeah,
Would you care to back that up?
because there's more stuff you do
Oh, okay.
and more actions. Like when I play a character, I have one action, like forever.
Oh, I see. Yep.
Yeah.
So you're talking more combat-wise. You enjoy it more.
Yeah.
Because it's more structured. You've got your at will, your encounter, your daily. Whereas now it's like, I have a sword. What do I do? Hit things with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your stuff has more abilities and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, more power. Cool. Well, thanks for your opinion and dropping into the show. No, I was 100% recorded. Thanks for coming into the show today. And we're going to continue going.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to TGB Podcast. My name is Josh Friesen, and I'm here again with Andrew Bird.
Hi.
Yeah, this is episode 2 of our podcast. Didn't even know if we would make an episode 2, but decided why not. It was fun, entertaining to do. Don't really care if you guys like it. You can just deal with it. So, our topic today is going to be D&D 5th edition stuff around 5th edition, revolving around 5th edition, questions, comments, basically our opinions. That's all this is. So, why don't we start with how it appears to new players? What's the appeal for a new player going into it?
Well, Josh, I feel like I'm answering an interview in question.
Right?
Strong entrance. How is 5th edition appealing to new players? You know, working at the game store, I've had a great opportunity to not only play D&D and sell D&D, but actually host encounters. And we have one of the larger encounter groups, at least for our area, with 5 tables. I am hitting around 30 players a week. Had 34 a couple weeks ago and pushed me like to maximum space that I had. I was running out of chairs. It was incredible. And it keeps growing, and we keep having new players show up. And I think it's because 5th edition is very, very easy to learn. It's exciting to play, and it's exciting again. Like it's new, in the sense that 4th edition came out like a board game, and older editions were during a time period, a cultural time period that maybe didn't really approve of D&D. D&D was still sort of dark. It was shady. It was something done in a basement, somewhere in a dungeon. With dragons, but now D&D is much more out in the open. The nerd culture is definitely bigger. It's more obvious, and there's more freedom for players and nerds of all ages to be involved in these kind of hobbies. So I think D&D is just more open now to people, which frees up people to come out and play, because they don't feel like they're going to be rejected, or they're going to be playing around a bunch of people wearing wizard hats and robes. There's that one guy, but out of 34, there's only the one. So it's not so bad. You're mostly playing with normal people. Also, I'm seeing a huge amount of young people playing. I have a few guys that are in the group that have been playing since, older editions, since 2nd edition and 3rd edition, whatever else, Pathfinder. But I've got 18 teenagers.
Wow.
That have never played nerdy games, nerd stuff before. They watch the movies of, Age of Ultron or whatever. That's not out yet, but they watch the Marvel movies. They know some of this stuff. They maybe have played some MMOs. A bunch of them play League of Legends, but they've never played any tabletop games. None of them know Warhammer lore or played D&D before. and now they're all coming out here and learning this game. It's like cultural, but you know, I think it's part of its culture because it's more okay to be a nerd now.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, when I was in high school, I was pretty nerdy, and I got beat up every day. Now I hear nerds like they're like the kings of the school. It's cool to be nerdy.
Yeah,
I got jocks coming into the game store. They're so out of place, but they're like, I heard you guys carry like miniatures and paints, and I'm like, dude, should you be like lifting weights or like a child or something, like just breaking somebody over your knee? No, apparently this guy's like, you know, and I see that fairly often now. I had a guy come in and he knew more about the Marvel universe than I've ever known. I'm not a comic book reader, so I don't really know a lot of that stuff. But he knew the Marvel universe like forward and backward, and all the little story arcs and everything else. Blew my mind. The guy was like 6'4", ripped, obviously very athletic, and was like, "Oh yeah, well, you know this comic's really good because this one Hulk does it." I'm like,
"What are you talking about?
You wouldn't normally be in the store like this. 10 years ago, you would be beating up guys like me."
Well, that's kind of where we are too right now, right? Is, you know, 4th edition came out kind of along that time when nerds weren't cool. You know, that's just kind of nature of the beast, and so 4th edition had a pretty niche kind of market. Mm-hmm. But now that we have 5th edition out, it's new. If you look back, I remember when I first started into 4th edition, I was very daunting, right? You have, you know, 30 books you got to pick up. You got to get, you know, Player's Handbook 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 3. You know, well, you know what I mean. There's like a million of them. You got to get 60 Dungeon Master guides, you know, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but you're weird, so it's fine. But that's my point, right? Is you look at it as very daunting, where you got 5th edition out now, and it's new, right? People who want to get into it. I have friends who, you know, I've done one-shots for, and they're like, "Oh, it's so good, I love D&D." I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's great." And they go out and they say, "What do I need to get into it?" And I say something, you know, either say it depends what you want to do. You can either get, you know, your Player's Handbook and your Dungeon Master Guide, which will get you everything you need, maybe a monster manual, if you want to do that, or you can do what I suggest to most people, which is to get the starter kit. You know, and that's something that they've always been strong with, is with the starter kit, giving you basic rules and such, and it kind of just throws you into it. But
and a really solid module in this new starter kit.
For sure.
That for sure. What is it? Defiance of Planets. The other one is
Minds of Phandelver.
Minds of Phandelver. Phenomenal. Really, really great story. And I agree with you. I mean, I think it's easy to get into. It's a lot less books. That's one thing for me. I mean, I got into 4th edition 5 years ago. The game was pretty established already. No new books were really coming out. Heroes of Shadow, Heroes of the Elemental Chaos, Heroes of Fae. Those guys were coming out. But the main books were already out. Now 5th edition started up, and I feel like I'm on the front edge, the front line, the cutting edge. Yep. I'm able to buy the book as it comes out. I have a Player's Handbook, a DMG, and a Monster Manual that I bought at pre-release for each of them. And I'm right up on the ground floor on this new edition. So I mean, there's definitely something to that as well. There's definitely some buy-in to that I think most players will appreciate.
Totally, and the lack of books too. You know, they've talked about, you know, not wanting to bombard people like they did with 4th edition. To have a smaller amount of books, really, it appeals to older players, I think, who have gone through. You know, you want to sit down and make a character. Okay, I gotta get my 5 books out, start going through them, right? Whereas nowadays, you want to make a fighter, boom, Player's Handbook, good to go. You want to make a rogue, boom, Player's Handbook, good to go. Same thing, no questions asked. You know, and that just might be where we are right now at the start. You know, it is still fairly new, and it might change as time goes on, but...
There's a Q&A I was reading today with the guy in charge, one of the lead design in creation of 5th edition D&D. And he was asked the question of are they going to release more supplement books, such as a Player's Handbook 2, Monster Manual 2, and that kind of thing. And his response was that they want to try instead to keep doing what they're currently doing, which is when they release a new module, in that module they release any pertinent character upgrades and monster upgrades. So I don't know if you've seen the POTA book yet, the Prince of the Apocalypse book, but in the back of it, rather than make Monster Manual 2 with elementals and everything else, they've just added all the new monsters from Prince of the Apocalypse into the back of the book. They've also added Genasi as a playable character race in the appendix of the book.
Yeah.
rather than make a player's handbook 2. I think it's a really smart way to go. I think that way, not only will they sell modules, which honestly, I look at the Pathfinder section of our game store, where we have stacks and stacks and stacks of modules that we sell the occasional 1 or 2 out of a month, because people buy one module and play it for several months.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not really consistently selling. And you take that and you look at now D&D 5th, and they're going, look, we're going to sell these modules, but in them there's also going to be character playable stuff. There's going to be new monsters. There's going to be new magic items.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to release in the module book. I see those modules being a lot more attractive for purchasing for DMs as well as players. The DMs are going to get a lot more value out of it now too. Now they've got a story to run.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're not DMing, they've also got new character races that they can play, new loot that they can find. I really think 5th is going the right direction for D&D.
No, it's good. I know I've been a big fan. I played D&D way back in the day, and then stopped for a while, and sort of basically picked it back up in my adulthood. In 4th edition, and when I picked up 4th edition, I looked at it, making a character. You go to pick a feat, and all of a sudden you're scrolling through 12, 13 pages of feats. Not really, unless you count the dungeon magazine stuff, but just feats upon feats upon feats upon feats, and you're sitting there going, okay, what do I get? Do I get something cool, or do I get something pertinent to my character, right? And that's what 4th edition kind of had, is you kind of had to make a choice and sacrifices. Do you want to make your character effective, or do you want to make him fun? Mm-hmm. Right?
Well, and that brings us to the whole concept of min-maxing we were talking about that other day.
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea of min-maxing out your character to be the most powerful it can be. There was a whole website, actually, I used to go to it regularly. It was on the Wizards forums. Mm-hmm. 4E, character customization, optimization. That's what it was. Character optimization forum. You go in there, and you could choose your character, and then there'd be an optimization thing on what feats, skills, abilities, multi-classing, weapons, all that stuff to maximize the effectiveness of your D&D character. I played with a guy who was an incredibly good min-maxer, and he had not a rogue, it was an Avenger. You start with an Avenger from Player's Handbook 2 in 4th edition.
Mm-hmm.
So the Avenger, which allows you to roll 2d20s every time you attack a target. And then you multi-class into Rogue at level 11 when you hit Paragon.
Sure, yeah.
And you take the Dagger Master Paragon path from the Rogue traits. So now with that path, you crit on 18 to 20. So he's rolling 2 dice to hit every time, and he's critting on an 18 to 20. So his crit rates were through the roof. Picks himself up Blood Iron Dagger, something like that.
Sure.
And it doubles your crit damage. So he crits all the time, and he's rolling like 10d10s for crit damage. I've seen him deal at level 30. He was dealing over 700 damage around.
It's crazy, but that's min-maxing though, right?
That was min-maxed.
And that's what I think 4th edition revolved a lot around is, you sit down with your group, and yeah, we all want to make a fun character. We want to have fun making, these unique characters, but you felt as if, at least I did, I felt as if I didn't try to min-max my character, I was then being a hindrance to my group, and I wasn't, and then the rest of the group isn't having fun at that point.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And it's not been a problem only in 4th. That was a problem in 3.5. Mm-hmm. It's still a thing in Pathfinder. I've seen people's Pathfinder character sheets. They're like 3 pages of spreadsheets to cover all their feats that they get and all their abilities they get, and there's crazy amounts of min-maxing. So then the question is in 5th. I mean, it's still kind of new. It's not even been out for a full year yet. Mm-hmm. Is there ways to min-max, and does it matter?
Yeah, there's definitely ways you can still min-max, but min-maxing isn't revolved around all these crazy skills and combos and that kind of such. Yeah, sure, there's still some good stuff. For example, if you go, Fighter 3, Rogue 3, you're getting sneak attacks on your turn and their turn. If you go Battle Master, all that kind of stuff. But that's what it's based around now. It's based around multi-classing if you want to min-max. But that's to say that you're maybe going to get an extra couple dice. And is that couple dice going to make a big difference in the grand scheme of things? I don't think so. Not in 5th edition. I don't think that... sure, fights will go faster if everybody's min-maxing their characters to this crazy degree. You know, gotta have max dexterity, gotta be this class. You know, I gotta have this feat this time. Then I gotta swap to, you know, this race, and it's craziness. But you don't need that. You can, you know, with the ability score being capped at 20, boom, that immediately fixes a lot of min-maxing issues, in my opinion. Right?
Oh, I agree. I mean, your stat modifier is never better than +5.
Mm-hmm.
That's massive. I absolutely agree with that. And there are some major ways to min-max, but they're not cheesy so much. I mean, like, my wife played a Gnome Barbarian.
Mm-hmm.
Gnome Barbarian gets advantage on almost every saving throw there is, plus resistance to all damage, plus a bunch of other stuff. Almost invincible.
Mm-hmm.
Incredibly difficult to kill. Is it game-breaking? No, not really, because the game runs pretty small hit points in general, and the numbers just are smaller in general. So the min-maxing isn't as big, because the minimum is smaller, the max is smaller, so the overall stretch is smaller, I think. And one thing I love about it is the feats. I mean, you mentioned that the major way to min-max in 4th and even in 3.5 in Pathfinder is to feat. It's all about your feats. Having the right combination of feats at the right time. You know, everyone knows about 4th edition, the Winter Touch combo. Super, super crazy. A lot of tables banned it. A lot of DMs just don't allow Winter Touch. It's just a crazy combo. Those feats don't exist in 5th. But there are some feats, and I think they're incredible feats. I love the concept of the feats like, Observant.
Yeah,
you know, passive perception of like 20. Sweet, I see everything. I'm Sherlock Holmes, you know?
Yeah.
Or Alertness, I cannot be surprised. Never caught in a surprise round. That's really neat. Yeah, there's some really, really cool ones out there.
Yeah, and that's what I love about the feat system too in 5th edition is it's different than what they've normally done. You know, you don't want feats to become more powerful. You want feats to evolve your character, right? You know, I have a guy in my group right now who's playing a 90-year-old man, just an incredibly old dude, falls asleep all the time, that kind of such. But one of the feats he took is Keen Mind. So for 30 days, he remembers everything. But past 30 days, he's an old man, and he can't remember a single thing. He doesn't know anything, right? And so, is that feat effective for combat? Not at all. It's completely useless for combat. I think you get like 1 intelligence with it. Is it effective for role-playing purposes? 100%. You don't remember anything. You literally just ask the DM, hey, so I remember this from 22 days ago. What is it exactly? And boom, there's your information. Other than that, is it min-maxing strong like Feats used to be? No. I think they're about fun. They're about evolving your character.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I absolutely agree. I took that same feat for my Divining Wizard.
Yeah.
But every time I tried to do like the telling the future prediction stuff and having my rolls ahead of time, I kept rolling like 9, 10s, and 11s. So yeah, I'm predicting average. So guys, how are we doing? Average day. So I took the Keen Mind feat because I figured, hey, if I can't tell the future, at least I'll tell the past.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, at least you remember things.
So I had a character who could divine the past.
No.
So you know, very clever, I thought. But I absolutely agree. The feats in 5th edition, they don't give you one little trait that you have to then stack with a bunch of other things. It's, hey, you're gonna take this feat. It's gonna be worthwhile to develop your character from this one feat. And you can definitely see that if you make a character or play a character at all.
No, for sure. And, you know, looking at the game, too, it's not... At least in my opinion, of course, there'll be tables out there and games out there that are all about min-maxing, about combat. And that's just how some people play the game. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And some people enjoy it as a combat-oriented game. That's fine. Some people play it as a role-playing-oriented game. But I would say majority, maybe 70% of people who play D&D are there for kind of a good mix of both, right? And because of that good mix, the edition, 5th edition, just it allows people to develop their characters. It allows people to make a lasting impression of their characters. You look back from when we used to play way back when, we all have characters that we remember and we cherish because of how much fun we had with them, right? And that's something that I feel like players nowadays are getting very early on. That maybe took us way back when, 2-3 years to really have that character established and be like, yeah, I love this character. This character's fantastic. He's my boy, right? Whereas nowadays, I have people who play a character for 3 months and all of a sudden their character is dear to them, right? They're not expendable. They're fun, exciting, and that's what I think 5th edition really brings to the table.
I agree.
Yeah, 100%. So why don't we talk a bit about the newest module, Prince of the Apocalypse? We talked a little bit, but maybe just chat about it in comparison to, because the only other module really out there are ones that have been, what's the word? Not transcribed, turned into, become old to new, 4th edition to 5th edition, right?
Yeah.
So there's some modules that have done that, have been turned into 5th edition modules, whatever the word is. But for 5th edition, I think there really only is 2 modules, right? Thundalver and Apocalypse, right?
There are 3.
Oh, 3 plus Horde of the Dragon Queen and such, right?
And Tyranny of Dragons is an expansion of, or Rise of Tiamat is an
Rise of
expansion
Tiamat.
of Horde of the Dragon Queen.
Yeah. I never played Rise of Tiamat. I played Horde of the Dragon Queen. It was fun. It was neat. I found it to be incredibly railroady for my group. I think we only played it up to chapter 5 before everyone just kind of lost interest in it. And that was my only really core with that. The story, super cool. You know, Tiamat, who doesn't like Tiamat? Super sweet. And my group never really felt motivated to do anything. And I think sometimes that's what you get in those modules, especially those railroading types, is you throw it into the thing, and you basically say to your group, hey, you guys, you care about X because of Y. Right? And that's no fun. Whereas Prince of the Apocalypse kind of takes a totally different approach, right?
Yeah, so from my experience running encounters, I've noticed that these modules, especially the first one, Horde of the Dragon Queen, was really written with encounters in mind. It's really designed well to run a large organized event where you have multiple tables all running the same story. It's broken down into little sections that are easy to do in a single evening, and break it all down that way. Prince of the Apocalypse is actually a big step away from that, I think, where it can still be done that way, but the sections aren't as clear anymore, especially now in the second section of the encounters. So for those who aren't aware of this, Prince of the Apocalypse has like 8 chapters in it. The first chapter recommends that you start at level 3, but if you don't want to start at level 3 and you'd rather start at level 1, you start in chapter 6. So Encounters is playing us in chapter 6, and then after chapter 6, it goes over to chapter 3, I think. And we've just gone into that second chapter in my Encounters group, or in the store, and I have 5 groups all going at the same pace. And we just got into the second chapter, so we just finished chapter 6. And now it says all of a sudden that, hey, there's a wide variety of approaches the players can take to this. They can go all sorts of directions, roll with it. And I'm like, that's great if I was playing my own game.
Yeah.
I'm running 5 tables and I want to keep them all at the same place so I can, every week the players at those tables change.
Yeah.
Randomizes. So they're not going to be able to carry over their exploits to the next week. So it needs to be somewhat structured. And so Prince of the Apocalypse actually doesn't fit that as well as Horde of the Dragon Queen did. Horde of the Dragon Queen was so cut and dry. Like you said, there was very little freedom for the players to jump out of the story, which made it better for encounters, worse for home game. Prince of the Apocalypse, other way around. I think it's extremely good for a homebrew or a home game. Great tool, and it's bringing back a classic, which a lot of gamers are grabbing onto. A lot of old-time D&D players latching onto Elemental Evil. They love the storyline from the past. They're loving it again.
For sure.
I think it's really, really good. Makes it harder to run encounters, but that's okay. I think encounters is really setting its real purpose is to create a launching point to teach new players and then get them playing their own home games, where they're then buying the regular materials and then running their own games and keeping the game alive. I don't think encounters is the end-all and be-all of the D&D releases.
No, for sure. Maybe real quick thoughts on 5th edition, just a summary. If, someone was going to ask you, what do you think of 5th edition? You didn't have a lot of time. Kind of what would you say to them? I know it's kind of a tough question, but we're running out of time. We just need to crush it out here real quick.
Absolutely. It's not actually an unfair question at all. I work at a game store. I hear this question every day.
Yeah.
What's so great about 5th edition? 5th edition is the best edition of D&D that's ever been released, in my opinion. It is full of great options to do combat and create an interesting character that can do combat well,
Mhm.
and an interesting character that does well in towns and bars and role playing.
Mhm.
It's easy to get into. It's got very simple, straightforward rules, and we have a regular encounters group. There's one; they're all over the place. Regular encounters groups that are in stores that have bought into this encounters program that really does work well to get you started.
Mhm.
So if you don't know how to play, easy to jump into. I think 5th edition, super simple. You don't know how to play yet? Grab a character sheet. There's loads of pre-gens out there.
Mhm.
Make your own if you want, but I mean, if you're new to it, grab a pre-gen, grab a D20. You're good to play. That simple. I found 4th edition was a little more intense. Had a lot more to it. It was more like a board game,
Mhm.
which I still love 4th edition. I think it was groundbreaking in the role-playing genre.
For
A lot
sure.
of people miss that.
Yep.
But I think it was groundbreaking. I think a lot of its good qualities have carried over into 5th. And I think that 5th is just really, really easy to pick up and play. Grab a piece of paper, a pencil, and a dice, and that's what D&D should be. I think 5th does that.
For sure. All right, guys, thanks for listening to the TGB podcast. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to throw them in the comment section down below. And until next time, guys, take care.
Peace!